It's loading right now to YouTube.
Okay.
I'll tell you when. Here we are. Excuse me. I'm here for a second. All right. Okay, hi everybody. Jann Scott with you today. We're going to talk with Michael Dougherty. He is running again for re-election, and excuse me, I have to turn down this. Oops, I got to turn this thing down. I apologize for this. Where is it? This audio. Always make this mistake. All right, where is it here? There it is. Okay. Okay, good. All right. So anyways, one more time. Jann Scott with you today. We're talking with Michael Dougherty. He's the district attorney here in Boulder, and he's running for re-election. So, hey, Michael, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? I know you've been district attorney since when, 2010, something like that.
Well, good afternoon, Jann. Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. I like your hat, by the way, although yesterday was a tough day for the Broncos. I've had the honor of serving as district attorney for Boulder County since 2018. Now, I've been a prosecutor my entire career, dating back to when I started with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. I served in that office in New York City for many years, rising up through the ranks, starting in the trial division, specializing in sex crimes and homicides, and ultimately moving up to help manage the office on a daily basis. And we moved out to the great state of Colorado in 2010 and settled in Boulder, where my brother had moved earlier, actually. So we lived pretty close to my brother, and no greater honor in my career than when I was elected district attorney for Boulder County in 2018. Between arriving in Boulder and the election in 2018, I had served at the Attorney General's office for the state of Colorado, and also as the second in command for the district attorney's office down in Golden for Jefferson and Gilpin counties.
Wow. A couple things. The district attorney's office, you worked in the Manhattan's district attorney's office. I mean, they're in the news right now in a big way. So what do you think about what's going on down there in that case and how they're handling it?
Well, I loved my experience there. It was an incredible place to grow up as a prosecutor, so to speak. When I was there, crime was still at an all-time high for New York City. So we were averaging 100,000 cases per year. There were 550 attorneys and 1,200 staff total in that office. And it was an incredible office to be a part of and to serve in that community. They're obviously still in the news on a regular basis, including now with the prosecution of former President Donald Trump. And I just trust and hope that the staff there continues to work as hard as always with the commitment of doing justice.
So who was the district attorney when you worked there?
When I was there, I worked for the legendary Robert M. Morgenthau. Mr. Morgenthau served for 36 years. They do not have term limits for district attorneys in New York State. In fact, Colorado is the only state in the nation that I'm aware of that has term limits for district attorneys. Mr. Morgenthau served for 36 years before, at age 91, as he told me, taking early retirement.
Did you work with John Kennedy Jr.?
No, we did not overlap in time. I would see him around the community on occasion because he actually lived very close to the district attorney's office, but he and I never overlapped in our time in the office. I started there, I think, a year or two after he had left the DA's office.
So, the James Holmes case, were you involved with that? That was the with the movie theater shooting in Aurora. Were you part of that prosecution?
I was not part of the prosecution at the time. I was the head of the criminal justice section for the Attorney General's office. So after the attack took place, I was contacted, and responded immediately to the scene at the movie theater. And I was there, and we assisted for the first few days in the investigation and prosecution. But then ultimately it was prosecuted by the district attorney's office that had jurisdiction over the movie theater and the crimes that took place there. Absolutely horrific tragedy, of course. And the 18th Judicial District prosecuted the case.
So now we have this case with Alyssa. He's now cleared to go to trial. with you, and the press reports are out and all of that. So how is this going to unfold now with the King Soopers shooter? Yeah, go ahead.
Right, of course. So as you're aware, Jann, and I think what you're referencing is on Friday, late afternoon, the judge issued a decision finding that we had met our burden at the hearing that was conducted on September 27th, and that the defendant has been restored to competency and the case can move forward. So our next court date is November 14th, where we'll have a preliminary hearing. Mm-hmm. And at that hearing, it's the same hearing we have in every felony prosecution in which a murder charge has been filed or any serious felony charge has been filed. We have to demonstrate that we have sufficient evidence to support the charges, and then the case will move forward from there. And obviously, as with any open case, I need to highlight he's innocent unless and until proven guilty, and the charges are merely allegations. That's my ethical responsibility to share that. I'm especially careful to share that in every case, but also this one, so that we can make sure we have a fair trial in this case in Boulder County, and that there will not be any change of venue.
Well, change of venue. Wow. Okay. So why is the defense pushing for a change of venue?
No, I just want to make sure we always honor the defendant's constitutional rights in every case. I'm required to say that when I'm talking to the media or the community.
Well, okay. But I mean, there are cameras in there. They pretty much have him, I hate to use the word dead to rights, but they basically got him. I mean, what's going to happen with this anyways? Will he plead guilty, or I have no idea. I'm just asking.
No, it's okay. I can't tell you how it's going to play out in this specific case. I can say, generally speaking, that many cases result in either a guilty plea or trial. That's obviously up to, in large part, the defendant in any particular case. So we'll see which path this case goes down as we move forward. But we're excited to be able to move forward. There's some hope now for victims' families who've been waiting far too long for him to be competent to stand trial and for the case to, in fact, move forward to justice.
Well, at some point, no matter what happens, will the families be able to go into the courtroom and face this person, no matter what the outcome is?
Yes. For every case, the courtrooms are open to the public. Mm-hmm. So anytime we've had this case on in court, family members have been there in person, and other family members have watched over the virtual platform, which is called WebEx for the court system. Will this
case be televised?
That'll ultimately be up to the judge, and we have not come to that point yet.
Oh yeah. Okay. Wow. That's just remarkable. I'm completely amazed how people get guns and then make a decision somehow. I mean, this case, of course, it's Boulder, so we're all thinking about it. But since that time period, there have been dozens of shootings like this. And it's fallen right out of the news cycle, except for us, because here I know people that were shot that were killed in that King Soopers, one of our former clients. But the idea that people can get their hands on guns and then make some kind of decision and go out and commit a mass murder is it's still shocking. There was just a law passed, I guess the governor, I don't know if it was executive order or not, you have to wait 3 days before you can get your hands on a gun. That may have stopped somebody like Alyssa, do you think?
So that's why gun violence is a priority for our office, because you're absolutely right, Jann. King Soopers had a terrible impact on our entire community, particularly the victims and their loved ones. And I'm very sorry for your loss that you just touched on. I will say that gun violence is a priority for our office, and I imagine most DA's offices around the country. I would certainly hope so. In our office, what that means is three things. First, we vigorously prosecute any case involving gun violence. We want to make sure we have our very, very best staff and attorneys on those cases, so we secure the right outcome in each and every one. And we work really closely with our law enforcement partners to do so when it comes to gun violence. Second, we continue to push for, fight for, and help pass legislative reforms that make sense. We need sensible gun reforms in this country. And just in the last 2 years, Colorado's taken some really positive steps forward. You referenced the 3-day waiting period that got passed. We also raised the minimum age here in Colorado. A safe storage requirement was passed. And then, of course, the expansion of the extreme risk protection orders, which are orders that people can secure from the court after going through due process when someone presents a risk of danger to themselves or members of the community. So each one of those steps we've taken through the legislature, I've testified in support of those and helped push those through. Also, significantly banning ghost guns. So ghost guns are now banned in the state of Colorado. I think that's incredibly important. There's no legitimate reason why a responsible gun owner wants to have a gun that did not require a background check and cannot be traced back to a shooting if it's used by an individual in a violent act. And then finally, is we do our very best to raise community awareness around gun safety. We have far too many guns stolen nearly every day from unlocked cars, and the guns are unsecured in the center console. That happens far, far too often. We had 17 in 1 month stolen in Longmont a couple of years ago.
What's the minimum age now to purchase a gun?
21 is going to be the minimum age. It's going to be held up due to a federal lawsuit that was filed by, I believe, the Rocky Mountain Gun Owners Association. But both the minimum age and the waiting period are being challenged in federal court, which was to be expected when they passed. I look forward to those challenges being defeated because I think we need sensible gun reforms in this state and throughout the country. And Colorado should be a leader in this effort. And then finally,
go ahead. Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just going to touch on.
I've interviewed the gun store owners down there on 13th Street several times, and he told me, he said, you would be surprised the number of people in Boulder who buy guns and put them in their glove box. And I said, well, Boulder's kind of an anti-gun city. He said, well, maybe so. He said, but there are a lot of people that buy a lot. How do you think we stay in business? And I thought, and you just told me 17 in 1 month guns taken from the center console or the glove box. I mean, that is amazing. So
that's why I'm really excited to share this next step with you, Jann. I get to be a part of some really special things in my role as district attorney. But I think one of the most memorable, important things that we've done is just 2 weeks ago, we were outside the sheriff's office passing out free gun safes for the car or the home.
How big are
individuals? So the gun safes for the home are fairly big. They're about that big. For the car, it's about that big. But top of the line, highest quality gun safes, we secured them as an office through the use of grant funds. So we applied for and we were awarded a grant. Well, then we went out and bought all these gun safes. We bought 400 gun safes. And we spread the word that we were going to be out in front of the sheriff's office on a Saturday. And members of our staff, including in addition to volunteers from a local church and some other community partners, helped us with this. We passed out 200 gun safes for free in 2 hours. And some of the people pulling into the parking lot, and the line stretched all around the parking lot. It was for Boulder County residents. We have people on foot, people in cars. A bunch of the people in the cars had car seats in the back and even kids in the back. And that was so heartening to me that we're meeting gun owners in the middle instead of letting it just fall into this political divisiveness that we have in our country, and rather coming in the middle and saying, here's a gun safe. Please keep your gun secure starting tonight.
Why are gun safes important?
Gun safes are important because so many of the cases we have involving gun violence are with stolen guns, time and time and time again. And when you think about the fact that no one under 18 was able to obtain a firearm legally, and yet we have far too many shootings involving juveniles, it just highlights the point. If gun owners are better able to secure their guns and keep those guns safe, we are going to reduce the number of shootings that happen in the Boulder community and throughout the state of Colorado.
Let's see, what was I going to ask? Oh, so I subscribe to and get the Rocky Mountain Gun Owners Association, and I get all the propaganda sent in from them. And I mean, the way they act is they act as though they are at war with everybody. I mean, not just Second Amendment rights kind of stuff, but far more radical than that. Yeah, I'm like, wow, these people, they are on another planet. They don't seem to be living on the planet that I'm living on. And so it brings me back to Alyssa. I mean, we had the gun bans here in Boulder. We had Rocky Mountain Gun Owners Association in 2019, came here at least 3 times, marched around with assault weapons. The police just tried to keep a lid on it. And then once the judge, threw out the ban on assault weapons, in comes Alyssa and kills 10 of us. Is there a connection?
No, I wouldn't say there's a connection between the court's decision and what ended up happening at King Soopers, based on the information that I have. But what I would say, Jann, to your point, 2 things. First, We tend to, as a nation, far too often become really polarized around gun violence when we should, in fact, be united around reducing gun violence. And that's the approach that we continue to take in this office. And I would also note that for us to truly reduce gun violence in this country, we need real leadership and action at the federal level. And despite the best efforts of some champions at the federal level, including, for example, our friend, Representative Joe Neguse, it remains very difficult to get any sensible gun reforms through Congress. And that's why I applaud the state legislators here in Colorado, as well as local leaders in Boulder County, who've done their best to enact state laws and municipal ordinances. Ideally, though, we would not have a patchwork approach. Ideally, we would have consistent laws for the entire country. I think that's the right approach because you can enact certain things in Boulder County and drive down the highway 30 miles and obtain a gun. So for us to actually have real gun control and keep people safe in this country, we need leadership and action at the federal level. But until then, I will continue to push and help and support the state of Colorado and local municipalities in standing up sensible gun reforms that do not infringe upon or violate Second Amendment rights, but keep people safe.
Not to be polarizing, but I mean, was this an act of domestic terrorism?
Jann, I can't talk in any detail about the King Soopers case since it is an open and pending case and he has a right to a fair trial. What I will say is the preliminary hearing is on November 14th, and that hearing is open to the public. And if people are interested in learning more, that would be a great step for them to take to come down to the courthouse or watch on WebEx.
I'll just finish this line of a question to you on the Rocky Mountain Gun Owners Association and these people. I mean, they quite frankly frighten me when they come to Boulder and march around with assault weapons. What can we do to stop that, or have we figured out how to not allow that to happen? Because that could end up in, a tragedy also.
I agree. I think it's really important that we not engage in rhetoric until and unless things actually happen. And I think there have been changes to the law since that did happen. So I'm hopeful we won't see that day again here in Boulder County.
All right, thanks. The Ramsey case has been in the news again. Now there's a new police team looking at this. You were quoted in the press a little bit. And I guess my question is, now that we have a new police team looking at it, what happens if they come to the conclusion that the Boulder Police Department came to, which is they think the Ramseys did it and they throw it back in your lap? What do you do then if that happens to be the case?
Well, there's a few what ifs built into that question, but what I would say is that cold case homicides are a priority for our office and for this jurisdiction. And we've had success over the last several years as an office in bringing justice for victims in cases that had gone cold, in other words, unsolved homicides, and providing some form of closure for families and answers for community members. Cold case homicides are devastating and tragic, especially one such as the Jonbennet Ramsey case, where it's a child victim. So in Colorado, in response to the fact that we have 1,500 unsolved homicides statewide, there was a cold case review team formed. I used to serve on it, and members of my office now serve on it. And they meet on a regular basis, and they listen to case presentations from law enforcement agencies from around the state of Colorado. And they provide suggestions, guidance, and if necessary, support to help solve the case or to confirm that there's nothing else that could be done. And the Boulder Police Department is in charge of and continues to lead the investigation into the murder of Jonbennet Ramsey, and that will continue. But they've formed a multi-agency team. Our office is one part of it, but along with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Colorado Department of Public Safety, and so on. And that team is now putting together a presentation to the cold case review team. And that was all led by the Boulder Police Department deciding that that would be a good step to take to make sure that we have fresh eyes on that investigation and there's nothing else that can be done. And that's something I really want to stress, Jann. It's something we do in other cold case homicides as well. Some cases get more attention in the media than others, but no case is any more important than another unsolved homicide. So for the unsolved homicides that we have here in Boulder County, where there's a possibility the killer is still alive, we continue to go back and look at those cases and see, have there been advances in technology, changes in the evidence, or additional work that's been identified that we can do to solve the case and bring justice for the victim?
There's wow. I mean, this case is has held the attention of Boulder Police Department and District Attorney's Office for 30 years. There was a grand jury true bill. The TV shows on it, and the Ramseys sued everybody. I mean, do you? I don't suppose you could talk about it, but I mean, Lou Schmidt was there, and Tripp DeMuth. All of those people left the DA's office, and the thing just kind of hung in limbo. And do you have any other sense about this about this case? I mean, I guess I'll just ask you straight up: are the Ramseys still people? Is John Ramsey still a person of interest?
That's it. Let me say this to the first part of your question, Jann. Obviously, this case has a long history to it. Mm-hmm. I was not here in Colorado when the murder took place. In fact, I was still in school. And as you might guess, or as your viewers might guess, seeing me on screen right now, that was quite a while ago. I was in school in New York when Jonbennet Ramsey was killed. So I don't spend much or any time looking back at the history of the relationships and dynamics that went on during the investigation. I'm really focused on, as I would in any murder investigation, where we are now and what we could do to move it forward, if anything. So that's been my focus. And the Boulder Police Department is responsible for the investigation. But as with any murder investigation, the district attorney's office remains available to support them and help them with anything they need to move it forward.
So just back to the Ramseys, are they still people of interest?
I don't think the Boulder Police Department has addressed that. And I think that's a question for the Boulder Police Department. I think that the article you referenced earlier, there was some reference to that. But again, that's a question for the Boulder Police Department.
Well, okay. I won't press you anymore on this. I mean, I followed the case from the night of and still continue to follow it somewhat. So I'm kind of curious that this is all about to take place again. Okay, I mean, I think that's it. I really have nothing else to ask you. Hey, are you running against anybody? Is it just you?
Not as yet. My hope and plan has been to get off to a strong start with the reelection campaign, and that certainly seems to be underway. And I'm really heartened by and grateful for all the support from the community. It's been overwhelming. Just since we launched the campaign just over a month ago, it's been a tremendous showing of support. But I also, I'm the grandson of 4 immigrants who came over from Ireland and settled in Brooklyn with little bit of shirts on their backs. So I don't take anything for granted. I love the work we're doing here, so I'm going to continue working really hard. And that's why we launched a reelection campaign when we did and how we did. And I will say, as we continue to work to enhance community safety, fight for victims, and strive to improve the justice system, we've done a lot since I had the honor of taking office in 2018. But we've also encountered the pandemic, Marshall fires, and King Soopers along the way. So there's still work that remains to be done. I'm really grateful, Jann, and I don't want to let this opportunity pass without recognizing the outstanding women and men in this office. They are tremendous public servants. They work incredibly hard, nights, weekends, 365 days a year. We have people up and running on cases. And I think that's a testament to them that we've had as much success as we've had. But there's still a long list of things that we want to work on going forward.
Term limits? When will you be term limited out?
So I'm actually, when I took over in 2018, I had the privilege of serving Stan Garnett's remaining years in office. And I'm actually ending my first full term in office now. So I'll be on the ballot in November of 2024. And if I'm fortunate enough to have the support of the community, I would be able to serve 2 more terms beyond that.
All right. Well, Michael Dougherty, thanks very much for taking, time and talking with me and actually talking with the entire Boulder community. Thanks a lot.
Jann, thanks so much for your interest. Thanks for reaching out, and I hope you have a great day.